All right, I'm going to take you guys into the house here in a minute. I got to put that console back together. What am I looking for? I did a video yesterday. I was like, I need some help with that wiring. Well, they got the part, everything's fixed, and people were talking about the console, so I wanted to bring you in there, watch me set it up, and then I'm going to do a video. This whole video is going to be about the console because I got a lot of positive feedback about it. I'm going through some scrap here, and I'm going to knock out a couple of cutting boards. I don't do the cutting boards anymore. Don't ask me to make a cutting board. But I have some scrap. There's a couple people I want to hook up if I can. If I happen to have an extra one or two, I'll let you guys know if you want to buy them. They're not cheap. You guys can look up what I used to sell them for in the old days, but I'll let you know if any are available at the time. So stay tuned for that. Yeah, so you guys remember here, I got this rat's nest back here. We'll deal with that another time. Right now I'm going to put this back, and then I'm going to talk to you about the details on this and show you how I made it and why. So as I showed you yesterday, they're all separate parts here. And I didn't know that there was going to be this much wiring involved when they were putting this whole system together. I also didn't know that this would be moved so much. So, as I mentioned when I did the video yesterday, these are all separate parts here, and it's all just floating in place. Including this drawer here, which, let me take this out and show you how this works here. I think you guys will get a kick out of this. I've got a steel handle here on both sides, one here, for this exact reason, so you can just remove it easily. And there's just a wood running here. I'll show you that in a second. I've got to push the boxes together a little bit tighter. You have to understand there's a lot of mass here. So moving these parts takes a little bit of effort, which again, not designed for this. What the idea is, if I pinch this shelf, it's the perfect distance for that to hang exact. Let me do this real quick, I'll get back to you. Okay, so there it is. Now, I got it pretty tight to the wall now, and it's set up okay. And as I was saying, this was not originally designed to be moved around. I didn't understand that that's what would happen. And also, the reason for the extra depth on this is that originally it was an old box television. Remember the old TVs we all had? And I had it tight to the wall, and there was a hole behind it for the wires. And you'll see here, I put a plug in here. And that's because, obviously, they went with a wall-hung flat screen, right? Right thing to do. Now, Another thing with this, it's all genuine mahogany. This is not African mahogany, okay? African mahogany is not real mahogany. It's a softer wood. It has the same color tone to a certain degree, but it's much softer. Genuine mahogany is Honduran mahogany from Honduras. Now, there's been a lot of issues with that, with getting it and all that, and I'm not going to get into that right now. But this is solid Hunduran mahogany. This is about 2 inches thick right here, okay? You can see what's going on here. These are not actual through tenons. I did a step down dado here, and then I used screws, and then I put end grain here to simulate a through tenon, and then you'll see these are real sliding dovetail keys here. You guys have seen me use that before. This is all solid wood construction. There's no plywood here. And you'll see here this cloud lift pattern, very Japanese. This client used to go to Japan 5 times a year. So that's a very typical Japanese design aesthetic that's placed in the furniture. I did it here on the mantle originally. And I did it here on the coffee table. And then I carried that to the arms with the shape here. You know, the arms with the shape here. You guys have seen a lot of this before. We're going to stay focused on this. Now, this entertainment console was also, the top of it wasn't designed to be a utilitarian piece where you'd be placing things on top of it. We knew it was going to sit low. The large television ate up the center of it, and they just had a couple of tchotchke type things, like a plant vase on either side of the television. So I purposefully made these butterflies with end grain, because they're not doing anything, so they don't have to be so strong. And I let them sit proud, again, on purpose, for the tactile nature of it and the visual. I wanted that to pop a little bit at the time. So that's the reason for that. Now, if you guys remember, back in the day, I was an audiophile myself, and you would have a tuner. Sometimes you'd have a separate tuner, a separate amp, you know, tape decks, multiple tape decks usually. I had that. I had dual tape decks, another tape deck. They had a turntable. They had all these different components. So this was originally designed for that. They had a home entertainment system set up with a separate amp tuner, which they still have now, but it has changed over the years. But that's what it was designed for. And back in the day, that's what you would do. You would have your home set up, and then you would have a custom thing made, you know, or usually people would buy it, or they come find a guy like me to make them a custom entertainment console. Today with it, there's kind of a resurgence with this whole audiophile thing where people are buying vintage components. I'll tell you, here in LA, there's a place called Ahead Stereo. That guy buys high-end vintage components, tears them down, refurbishes them. So when you buy something from him, you're getting something new. I'd like to go to him myself and get something, because I'd like to set up my own setup again. But you see here what's going on. So there's a rail. It's a rail system. Try to bend this down for you here. Get you a lower angle so we can make this work. And shaped into that rail is the foot. This is all one piece. That's not a separate piece glued on there. It may seem that way to you because the grain color changed. So that's all cut in. And then we have this upward angle cut on that. That gives it a visual lift. And then this is a separate box right here. That's a separate box right there. Again, all solid mahogany. That shelf is just sitting there, and then that drawer, as I just explained, that is floating on 2 hardwood runners. Now, the hardware is very Japanese. This is what you call tansu style. So you see a tansu cabinet here. That's the one piece I did not build in this living room. I found that for them at a swap meet. It was a really good deal. Now, at the time I built this, I had a tiny little shop in a basement. So everything I built had to be built in parts so I can get it in and out of the shop space. It was a standard little 2.5 foot door. So all the furniture in here is designed to break down with wood pegs and come apart and all that good stuff. If you guys find this video interesting, I'll do a separate video on each one of these pieces and talk about it in detail like I'm doing here. But the idea with Tansu, with the Japanese, is everything could break down easily so they could pack it flat on carts and transport it, okay? These cabinets are constructed in a way like this is a separate piece, this is a separate piece, that's a separate piece. You put them together, it makes one piece. Well, this way you can pick this up, carry it to a cart, transport it someplace. They have tatami mats that they use there, and they are in wooden cabinets with sliding doors, like shoji screens. Well, that's all, it all breaks down. Sometimes there's not even pegs for that. The top lifts off, the walls fall apart, the doors come free, you stack that up and you can move it. Well, that worked out real well for me because I was working out of that tiny basement space. So it was the same sort of situation here, and that's the same process, thought process that went into this. That top is separate. So it's the top, 2 boxes for the components, center drawer, little shelf, and then the 2 rails. That's all it is. Now, if I was doing this again for somebody, I would do what I did for them on their bed, which is I would put what they call keys in there. So I'd mortise on the top of the rail and on the bottom of the box, and I'd put a little piece of wood in there. And that would register all those parts together so that when you grab this, I do the same thing with the top. I'd probably have, I don't know, maybe 2 to 4, depending, registers underneath here. So it'd be a little mortise on the bottom of the top here and on the top of the box. And I have a little block in there. It would fit like a puzzle piece. So if I grabbed that top and pulled on it, the entire piece would move as one piece. It wouldn't shift around so much. It'd be a lot easier to move that piece out, push it back in. Again, that wasn't the thought process at the time. The sheer mass of each one of these parts is what holds it there in place. It's not going to go anywhere. So that's it. A little short video for you explaining the piece, what it's made out of, why I did it this way, what this was all about. These days, like I was saying, there's a resurgence with the whole vintage audio equipment thing. I do a lot of built-ins for people. Normally I'm trying to help work within a budget with them where I'm usually using a poplar and they paint it. Because this sort of thing here, where you're buying this kind of material, can get astronomical, but I am in Los Angeles right now, so there are people who can afford that. If you happen to be one of those people, I'll make you something cool. That's it. You guys have a great day. Be kind to one another. I'll catch you in the next one.